My brothers and sisters, the following is the communication from Honorable Antipas Tundu Lissu. The communication is titled Tanzania, a Dictatorship Unbound. Tundu A.M. Lissu MP. Yesterday, 23rd November 2018, was yet another day, dark day, sad day in Tanzania. The national chairman of the largest opposition party in the country, Chadema, and the leader of the opposition in parliament, Freeman Aikaeli Mbowe, was incarcerated in remand prison for allegedly violating the condition of his bail. Mr. Mbowe and almost the entire leadership of the party and several members of the parliament are facing a bewildering array of politically motivated criminal charges. He hadn't jumped bail. He hadn't run from justice. He had traveled outside the country but failed to return in a timely manner for a court appearance. But returned to the country he did. And yesterday he personally appeared in court on his own volition. That was not enough for the court to believe that he is not a likely fugitive from the law. Mr. Mbowe jailing came hardly a week after the government of President John Pombe Magufuli introduced their bill in parliament which, if passed into law, would spell the end of multi-party politics in Tanzania. For the bill will allow the president, who has always simultaneously served as the national chairman of the ruling CCM party, to decide not only about who should be a leader of the opposition parties, but also who should oppose him and his party in the next and future general elections. The bill is the most blatant and shameless attack on democracy in the generation since the reintroduction of multi-party politics in 1992. The two events are not unconnected. For Tanzania has become a land of horrors in the 3 years since Magufuli came to power in 2015. It's become a country where political opponents of his regime are murdered or kidnapped and disappear in the manner reminiscent of the most odious of the Latin American military dictators of the 1960s and 70s. No one has been spared. Artists and musicians, none of them rebels as Fela Kuti or Bob Marley, have been abducted and tortured by intelligence and security operatives. Church leaders and Muslim imams have also been targeted. Senior clerics such as the former president of the Tanzanian Episcopal Conference TEC, and its general secretary have had their passports confiscated after the country's Catholic bishop criticized Magufuli in an unprecedented Easter pastoral cycle. Dozens, possibly hundreds of Muslim leaders and activists have spent years in remand prison in uninvestigated and unproven terrorism charges. Hundreds of villagers and residents of 4 districts south of Dar es Salaam, the commercial capital, have been abducted by the security forces and their bodies found floating in the Rufiji River or washed up in the nearby beaches. No suspect, no investigation, no arrest, and of course, no prosecution. Even the business community, for many years, CCM financial mainstay, has come under attack. Last month, Mohamed Dewji, the country's richest businessman and former CCM legislator, was kidnapped and held incommunicado for several days before being released. No word has been given as to who were the perpetrators of the crime or their motives. Dewji himself have kept deathly silent. No investigation, no arrest, and of course, no prosecution. Last year, the author of this communication was rained with a barrage of machine gun fire outside his home in Dodoma, the country's legislative capital, while attending parliamentary sessions. He survived 16 bullets, but remained under medical supervision in Belgium. Over a year later, no suspect, no investigation, no arrest, and of course, no prosecution. Such has become of Tanzania, the land of Mwalimu Julius Nyerere, even though they have been widely reported in the country's press. These rampant abuses went unnoticed by the outside world for a long time. Fortunately, this has now begun to change. Thanks to Magufuli himself, an erratic, gaffer-prone personality with an unquenchable thirst for public limelight, the president has antagonized even the staunchest supporters and benefactors of Tanzania in the West, with characteristic and embarrassing public outbursts. The EU, European Union, for years, perhaps the most generous funder of the country's annual budget, is reviewing its ties with Tanzania, following the dramatic forced recall of the EU ambassador to Tanzania early this month. The World Bank and its Scandinavian countries, for decades the country's leading donors, have withheld aid, and has the United States, which has also issued the travel advisory against its citizens traveling to Tanzania. In short, the country has fallen from its hell-crony days as the darling of the international community to the skunk of the world, to use Mandela's apt description of apartheid South Africa. This is as it should be for a country that becomes a danger to its own citizen, a country that turns into a tormentor of its own people instead of their protector, deserve nothing but contempt and opprobrium of the rest of the world. Tundu Antipas Lissu is a Tanzanian politician and opposition parliamentary leader. At the time of the assassination attempt on September 7, 2017, he was also serving as the president of the Tanganyika Law Society, the National Bar Association of mainland Tanzania. Thank you.